All right, let's talk about writing. You know, that thing that almost all of us have to do, but so many of us dread. If you've ever just stared at a blank page, feeling completely and totally stuck, well, you're in the right place. We're going to break down how to make it feel effortless. But let's be real for a second. Why does writing so often feel impossible? It can be so frustrating, right? You've got all these great ideas swirling around in your head, but the second you try to put them on the page, it just comes out wrong. Or worse, nothing comes out at all. What is going on there?
Okay, so here's the thing. The problem? It's probably not you. It's how we've all been taught to write. It's like we're caught in this trap, almost set up to fail by these two totally conflicting styles of advice that we hear all the time. And to really get out of this trap, you gotta meet the villains of our story. I'm talking about the two extremes of writing advice that have pretty much taken over. And honestly, they're both leading us down the wrong path. On one side, you've got the English teacher. You know, that formal, academic, stuffy way of writing we all had drilled into us in school. And then on the other side, you have the content guru, the voice of the modern internet, who's always selling you some kind of secret formula for going viral. And these two voices probably sound super familiar, right? The English teacher has you obsessing over things like, analyze why the curtains were blue. Meanwhile, the content guru is just screaming clickbait hooks at you, like, I made $10,000 in 4 minutes, here's how. One is all about overthinking, and the other is just a cheap formula. And here's the real kicker. Both of these approaches, they're completely unnatural. They're not how human beings actually communicate with each other. They force you to put on a performance instead of just, well, communicating. Okay, but here's where things get better. We can actually escape this trap. There's a really simple truth that just cuts through all that noise and all that complexity. And I promise you, it does not have to be this hard. Now get ready for this, because it might sound a little crazy at first. The big secret is, writing is actually easy. Yeah, we've just been tricked into thinking it's this incredibly difficult thing, but at its core, it's one of the most natural things we do. And this is it. The whole solution, the entire philosophy in just 4 little words. Write like you talk. That's the key. That's the whole thing. When you write the same way you speak, you're using a style that the human brain is literally wired to understand. It creates an instant connection with your reader. So that sounds great, right? But how do you actually do that? Let's turn this big idea into one single, super practical rule. A simple test you can use for every single sentence you write from now on. Here it is, your new golden rule. If you use a word you wouldn't say to a friend, delete it. Just think about that. This one little filter gets rid of all the jargon, all the fluff, and all that stiff formal language that makes your writing feel so weird and difficult to read.
To really let this sink in, let's try an analogy. We have to stop writing like a computer and start writing like a human. Just picture this for a second. On the left, imagine some messy, complicated code written by a first-year computer science student. And on the right, just simple, clear, human writing. They might seem like they're from different planets, but there's a really important connection here. So that student's code, it's usually clunky, it's inefficient, and it's almost impossible for anyone else to understand. It might technically work, but it is a mess. Bad writing is exactly the same. But good writing, just like clean, elegant code, is about clarity. It's about respecting the person who has to read it. It's simple, it's clear, and it flows naturally. So what's the game plan? It's a super simple 4-step check. Step 1, write a sentence. Any sentence. Step 2, read it out loud. Step 3, ask yourself that one critical question. Would I actually say this to a friend? And step 4, if the answer is no, then you rewrite it until you would. So really, if you only take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. Writing is not a performance. It's a conversation. So stop trying to sound smart. Stop trying to follow some weird formula. Just start talking on the page. And hey, if this explainer helped you out, we're currently collecting donations, but only in the form of subscribes. It's what helps us fund the next one. Thanks so much for watching.
All right, let's talk about a concept that is all over the internet, adulting. But we're going to flip the script today and make the case that maybe, just maybe, it's way simpler than we've all been led to believe. I want to start with this right here. Just let it sink in for a second. Being an adult is easy, actually. Now, I can already hear you. You're probably thinking, easy? Are you kidding me? Have you seen my to-do list, my bills, my constant low-grade existential dread? But you got to stick with me here, because this one simple idea Well, it's the key to unlocking a totally new way of looking at your life. So let's dive into the story that we're all told, right? The adulting is hard myth. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that constant flood of posts and videos telling us that modern life is this impossibly complex monster that you can only defeat with, like, color-coded spreadsheets and a morning routine that's optimized down to the second. And this just nails it, doesn't it? You've seen these threads, the productivity gurus showing off these insanely complicated systems just to manage the most basic parts of being alive. It's almost like a competition to see who can make being a functional human being look like the most difficult job in the world. Yeah, I bet it does. We've all been there, right? Feeling that pressure to find the perfect app, to build a better system, to finally organize our lives into some kind of flawless machine. But what if that's the wrong goal entirely? And that brings us away from the myth and straight to a really simple but powerful truth. See, the real goal isn't to just get better at juggling all the stuff you have to do as an adult. This right here, this is the whole secret. The solution isn't some bigger, better, more complex system. No, it's about getting things off your plate completely. It's about cutting down the number of decisions you have to make and the number of things you have to actively try to remember. The real goal is simplicity, not more complexity. Okay, so that sounds good in theory, but how do we actually do it? Let's get practical, because this isn't just some nice philosophy, it's a real strategy. It's all about building a life that pretty much runs itself, so you can free up all that brain power for things that actually matter. I love this framing. Treat your brain like a lazy employee. I mean, think about it. You wouldn't ask an employee to manually do the same repetitive task over and over again, would you? Of course not. You'd set up a system. So, step 1, find all those chores that repeat in your life. Step 2, build a set it and forget it system for them. And step 3, the absolute best part, you never have to waste a single thought on them ever again. And this chart just lays it out so clearly. Over on the left, you've got manual adulthood. That's the constant mental weight of remembering to pay the power bill, that Sunday night dread of having to go to the grocery store, and the sheer willpower it takes to move money into savings. But on the right, automated adulthood. Your bills just get paid. Your groceries just show up. Your savings goals are hit automatically. See, it's not about being more disciplined, it's about making discipline totally irrelevant. So where is all this going? What's the end game? What's the end point? We've automated the boring stuff. We've freed up all this mental energy. So what's the point of all this efficiency? Well, this is where it gets kind of wonderfully absurd. A really key part of this whole philosophy is setting up rules to stop yourself from just adding more complexity back into your life. And the most important rule is to avoid the 5 dangerous words. These are those little phrases that sound like a good idea at the time, but they're really just traps. Like when you suddenly decide, you know what, maybe I'll just start bulking. It's a brand new, complicated project that you absolutely do not need. An easy adult life means dodging these traps. And that brings us to the grand finale, the real purpose of automating your adulthood. It's not just so you have more time to binge watch shows, no. It's to free up so much mental space that you can actually go after something magnificent. The ultimate, totally absurd goal is to have enough free time to, colonize 78 countries. It's ridiculous, I know, but it hammers home the point. What massive, incredible thing could you get done if you weren't constantly worried about paying the water bill? And that is the real takeaway here. The whole point of automating the boring stuff isn't just about being efficient. It's about being ambitious. It's about clearing the decks so you can focus on whatever your version of colonizing 78 countries is. So I'll leave you with that question. Once you automate adulthood, what are you going to do with all that? All right, let's talk about studying. Today, we are diving into a method that promises something almost unbelievable, a shockingly simple way to get good grades. It's all about cutting through the noise of modern study culture. Let's get right into it. Okay, that's a pretty bold statement, right? I mean, it flies in the face of everything we've ever been told about studying. You know, the late nights, the stress, the endless color-coded notes. But what if it's true? What if the real secret isn't about doing more, but about doing what actually truly matters? So on the left, you've got what we'll call the study tube way. It's this whole aesthetic of productivity, right? A mountain of highlighters, those grueling 12-hour days, the whole deal. And then on the right, you've got the textbook method. It's just read, practice, repeat. The contrast is it's huge, and that's exactly the point. So first, let's just tackle this illusion of productivity.
The source material has a great name for it, calling it the highlighter apocalypse. And honestly, it's a phenomenon I bet a lot of you will recognize instantly.
This is basically the modern study ritual you see all over the internet. You know the drill. Step 1, turn your textbook into a full-on neon rave with about 15 different highlighters. Step 2, practically chain yourself to your desk for 12 hours a day. Step 3, have those lo-fi study beats playing for what feels like 4 straight years. And of course, spend hours watching YouTube videos about the very topic you're supposed to be studying.
I mean, it looks incredibly productive. It feels like you're working really, really hard. But here's the million-dollar question we have to ask ourselves. Does any of it, actually lead to real, lasting understanding?
And that brings us right to the simple secret at the heart of all this. There is an easier way. It's really time we trade the performance of studying for actual, genuine progress.
So here's the crucial point. We have to completely shift our mindset. The objective is not to fill hours or to make beautiful notes. The only goal is to genuinely understand the material. Everything else is basically just a distraction. So let's get to the good stuff, the solution, the textbook method. Here's your simple step-by-step guide to cutting through all of that noise. So what is it really? Well, the textbook method is just a completely no-nonsense technique. It uses the textbook as the main, or as our source calls it, the S-tier resource for mastering a subject. No frills, no fluff, just pure focused learning.
And it all breaks down into just 4 simple steps. Step 1, get the textbook. Your finger might, accidentally slip on a PDF download site. Step 2, read the chapter. And I mean, actually read it. Stop watching videos about it. Stop looking for summaries. Just read the words on the page. Step 3, do the practice questions. This is the big one. It's non-negotiable. This is where the real learning kicks in. And finally, step 4, check your answers. If you're wrong, you fail. It's that simple. You figure out why, you learn from the mistake, and you try again. Okay, so you might be thinking this sounds way too simple to be effective, but let's dig into why this method is so incredibly powerful. It's all about going from that superficial, surface-level stuff to substantial, useful knowledge. To really get the stakes here, our source material gives us this wild scenario. Just imagine you're in a life or death situation, literally hanging off a cliff. What kind of knowledge is actually going to save you in that moment? And this illustrates the difference perfectly. On one side, you've got the pretty notes approach. Sure, it looks productive, but that knowledge isn't going to save you from the cliff. But on the other side, you have real understanding. It might not look as glamorous, but it's strong. It's the knowledge that actually gets you pulled to safety. And that right there is the core benefit. The textbook method forces you to engage with the material on a deeper level. It builds knowledge that you can actually pull out of your brain and use when you're under pressure, whether that pressure is a final exam or, a cliff. So, to wrap all this up, what are the key takeaways? First, stop performing productivity. Just stop. Second, the textbook is your best friend. It actually has the answers. Third, those practice questions, they are not optional. They are absolutely essential. And finally, always remember the goal. True understanding, not a textbook that looks like a neon sign. So I'll just leave you with this one last thought. We build up all these complicated rituals and systems around studying, right? Buying all the supplies, scheduling our lives down to the minute. But maybe, just maybe, the hardest and the most important step of all is simply opening the book and starting.